The authoritarian government of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his isolationist leadership have caused stagnation throughout the country. Border tensions and hostile gestures towards South Korea have also irritated North Korean soldiers, leading them to flee to the nearest civilized country, South Korea, to avoid horrific human rights violations. Some deserters have joined the South Korean army, providing vital intelligence information. Current border tensions with South Korea, as well as the increase in North Korean defections, indicate that the regime is shaking from within. But what is happening behind the scenes of these defections, and how do they alter the internal dynamics of North Korea? How will South Korea react to this situation? Let's analyze the details together. If you want to stay updated with this type of information, be sure to subscribe to our channel and enable notifications. Let's take a look behind the scenes at these important developments. North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, maintains a tough stance toward South Korea as part of his quest for strength and influence in the Pacific. To impose this pressure, Kim Jong-un has established a strict authoritarian system in both North Korea and his own country. North Koreans are increasingly disillusioned with the regime. Kim Jong-un ruthlessly executes anyone who does not comply with the absurd regulations he has imposed. He is specifically using his recent connection with Russia to exploit the repressive system of the North Korean military, deliberately taking any opportunity to challenge the United States and its Pacific allies. However, North Korean troops have recently begun to defect to South Korea in response to Kim Jong-un's repressive policies. Seoul's Ministry of Unification estimates that approximately 34,000 people traveled from North Korea to South Korea in December of the previous year. According to reports, the group includes a large number of North Korean soldiers. Upon arrival, people automatically obtain South Korean citizenship and receive a relocation payment. South Korea's comparatively moderate attitude is driving North Koreans to flee their own country. North Korean soldiers are taking advantage of the opportunity offered by South Korea to flee their homeland and abandon Kim Jong-un's authoritarian ambitions. A group of soldiers supposedly crossed recently from North Korea to South Korea. The identities of the North Korean soldiers who left as a result of Kim Jong-un's harsh punishment measures have been kept secret. According to reports, the soldiers who fled North Korea defected to join the South Korean army. As a result, it is claimed that revealing the identities of North Korean troops serving in the South Korean army would greatly increase their security risk. However, the issue of soldiers defecting from North Korea to South Korea resurfaced during recent defection celebrations in South Korea. Hundreds of North Korean defectors recently gathered near the huge space station chromed Seoul Dongdaemun Design Plaza to commemorate the first National Day of North Korean defectors. The government holds an annual event in July to honor the more than 30,000 North Koreans who fled the repressive regime of Pyongyang and moved to South Korea. These people left behind a legacy of fear, close family ties, and a life dedicated to a cruel regime. The lively festivities in the central area of South Korea were especially significant given the difficulties that defectors typically face upon arrival. Many North Koreans who escaped their country had difficulty integrating into foreign society, and a small percentage even risked their lives to return to their isolated homeland. In 2006, Park Dae-hyun, a defector who founded the nonprofit organization Worion to help other defectors who fled North Korea and have since relocated to South Korea, confirmed that a large number of North Korean soldiers had recently sought refuge in South Korea. What techniques did North Korean soldiers use to effectively flee south, given the inherent dangers? After the armistice of 1953, North Korea and South Korea were separated by a highly secure border that essentially prohibits any unauthorized crossing. After that period, South Korea began a modernization process and became one of the richest and most sophisticated nations in the world. Meanwhile, North Korea became further isolated as most of its population faced widespread poverty and limited fundamental freedoms. Over the years, many people who attempted to defect left, often using intermediaries to plan their journey and routes through heavily guarded borders, passing through China and other parts of Asia before reaching Seoul and other final destinations. Are North Korean soldiers believed to have worked with these intermediaries to flee south? Without a doubt, this journey poses a considerable risk to the North Korean army. China classifies North Korean refugees as economic migrants and forcibly deports them. Activists argue that these people, believed to be seeking asylum, are at risk of being imprisoned, tortured, or facing even worse repercussions. North Korean troops face severe punishments when detained, putting their lives in danger when they return home. Even those who successfully reach South Korea encounter enormous obstacles, particularly in terms of finding employment and maintaining a livelihood. Despite receiving vocational training and financial aid from the Seoul government, North Korean personnel begin an acclimatization process as soon as they flee. According to government statistics, the unemployment rate among defectors in 2022 was approximately 6.1%, more than double the national average. Cultural shock combined with occasional hostility from South Koreans exacerbated the problems. Despite the enormous obstacles, North Korean soldiers are choosing to defect because they are reluctant to fight against South Korea on behalf of Kim Jong-un. Estimates suggest that a significant number of North Korean soldiers are currently attempting to cross the dangerous border and defect to South Korea. North Korea's modern military force consists of around 2 million soldiers. Kim Jong-un refuses to grant amnesty to those who defect to South Korea, claiming it will be easy to replace these deserters. In contrast, South Korea treats North Korean defectors well. Recently, it was revealed that a former North Korean official who fled to South Korea had risen to a high-level position. Tae Yong-ho, a former North Korean diplomat, has been appointed as the new head of the Presidential Advisory Council for Unification in South Korea. As a result, he became the highest-ranking defector among those who fled south and the first to be appointed as vice minister. Tae, 62, served as Pyongyang's deputy envoy to the UK before defecting to South Korea in 2016. Pyongyang accused him of treason and embezzlement of state funds, among other crimes. However, Tae recently made history by becoming the first former North Korean elected to South Korea's National Assembly in 2020. Although he did not win a second term in the April legislative elections, he will now serve as an advisor to South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, focusing on the peaceful unification of Korea. According to the presidential office, Tae will help build a program for peaceful unification based on liberal democracy, supported by both domestic and international sources. Born in Pyongyang in 1962, Tae began his foreign service career at age 27. He spent over 3 decades serving 3 generations of the ruling Kim family. Tae revealed that he left North Korea to prevent his children from living unhappy lives. He has also expressed strong opposition to Kim Jong-un's administration and genuine appreciation for South Korea's democratic system. Tae's recently published memoirs describe the extravagant conduct of North Korea's wealthy class and the intense admiration for the Kim dynasty that permeates the culture. Since his departure, he has actively advocated for using soft power to destabilize Kim's government and for prisoner exchanges between North and South Korea. Following his election as South Korea's vice minister, Tae is expected to take additional measures to undermine Kim Jong-un's dictatorship. The implications for North Korea have been catastrophic. The Kim administration is extremely dissatisfied with Tae's decision to fly to South Korea and become vice minister through elections. Tae's defection to South Korea will inspire more North Koreans and pave the way for the formation of larger opposition groups against Kim Jong-un's dictatorship. Many indeed consider Tae's decision to flee to South Korea a precedent-setting event. Seoul's intelligence service recently confirmed the defection of a well-known man who worked as a diplomat and was stationed in Cuba. According to local media, the individual, Ri Il-kyu, 52, stated that his reasons for escaping were based on his discontent with the North Korean system and his pessimistic view of the future. Ri Il-kyu indicated that all North Koreans had considered living in South Korea at least once, according to local media. Interestingly, historical records show that those who chose to leave North Korea and settle in South Korea not only had better living conditions in ancient times, but also lived more comfortably until their deaths. Additionally, the narrative of the death of a former prisoner of war who narrowly escaped being captured in North Korea has gained traction. A former South Korean POW who spent 50 years in captivity in North Korea before escaping safely died on Wednesday. During his time in South Korea, he lived without external influences while he survived. The unidentified body of the individual known as Kim will be buried in the Seoul National Cemetery, as requested by his family. On Thursday, Vice Minister Kim Seon-ho of the Ministry of National Defense visited the family of the deceased and expressed his condolences. President Yoon Suk-yeol and Minister Shin Won-sik conveyed their condolences and delivered flowers to the family. Kim was captured by North Korean soldiers during the first year of the Korean War. He was reportedly subjected to decades of forced labor until he managed to escape in 2003. North Korea captured and held about 80,000 South Korean soldiers until the conflict ended with an armistice. According to figures from the Ministry of Unification, only 8,343 people were transferred from North Korea to South Korea between April 1953 and January 1954. Many other POWs were forever denied the opportunity to return. Kim was one of the 80 people who eluded capture and returned to South Korea. However, the Seoul administration lacks sufficient information about all the convicts. To collect new information and honor their sacrifices, a group of lawmakers introduced a bill in 2021 to accelerate government investigation efforts. However, the matter remains unresolved in Parliament since then. According to human rights activists, the fundamental cause is the lack of political determination. Shinji Seok, a legal analyst at the Transitional Justice Working Group, a non-governmental organization based in Seoul, proposed the idea of creating a national holiday to honor, raise awareness, and support their cause. Since then, the suggested holiday has already been celebrated and is likely to be remembered several times in the future. The daily flow of defectors from North Korea to South Korea is expected to increase progressively. Living among the privileged does not guarantee safety, and leaving that environment can be very dangerous. However, a growing number of North Koreans will take enormous risks and flee south to save their lives. Kim Jong-un's brother was assassinated in a highly publicized event at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, organized by Pyongyang agents. In a country where such circumstances occur, the only risk is deciding to stay within its borders. How can a nation with such an authoritarian structure and oppressive mindset continue to exist? Experts believe that North Korea is currently facing a significant collapse. When North Korea's founding dictator, Kim Il-sung, died in July 1994, several prophecies predicted that the regime or state would collapse. After the death of his son and successor, Kim Jong-il, in December 2011, many North Korean observers questioned the ability of Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il's youngest son, who was then 27, to maintain his position of power. Kim Jong-un has maintained a solid grip on North Korea, including its military and security apparatus, for the last 13 years since replacing his father. The likelihood of a military coup is low. However, North Korea's authority and influence are gradually eroding, and the Kim dynasty is currently in decline. This will have enormous strategic implications for the Korean Peninsula and the international community. What is the greatest threat to the Kim dynasty? Externally, Kim Jong-un seems to have complete control over the Korean People's Army, KPA, the Ministry of State Security, the Workers' Party of Korea, and other sources of power. Kim currently faces serious internal threats that he and his allies cannot completely control. Several components of the glue that has held the world's only communist family monarchy together since 1948 are in jeopardy or eroding. There are four main threats to the regime. The deepening economic crisis, characterized by severe food and energy shortages, is one of the contributing factors to North Korea's current position. Additionally, the state rationing system has largely disintegrated, leading to the creation of informal markets, known as jangmadang, where illegal trade frequently occurs. Furthermore, a large percentage of the country's GDP, around 25 to 30%, is reserved for defense expenditures, including the development of nuclear weapons and other weapons of mass destruction. Kim Jong-un faces serious risks, including the disintegration of long-standing indoctrination based on strong hatred and fear of South Korea, the United States, and Japan, all considered North Korea's main adversaries. Additionally, there is the risk of declining loyalty not only among the general public, but also within the ranks of the party, military forces, security services, and the wealthy Donju class. These threats are exacerbated by the dwindling capacity of the security apparatus to instill increasing levels of panic in the population through the use of internment camps, public lethal punishments, and the perpetuation of terror. Let's discuss the country's economic crisis. During a two-day meeting of the 8th Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, WPK, in January 2024, Kim admitted that the North Korean economy was in serious trouble. He emphasized that the government was unable to meet even basic needs like food and groceries. In February 2024, Kim presented a grand plan to accelerate North Korea's industrial revolution. The plan calls for the construction of factories in at least 20 remote counties by the mid-2030s to reduce the growing economic gap between urban and rural areas. North Korean official media extensively used Kim's words as propaganda, emphasizing that the next decade would see a tremendous and dramatic change on a historic scale. Indeed, North Korea allocates a significant portion of its GDP, ranging from 25 to 30%, to defense expenditures. Additionally, Kim Jong-un remains steadfast in his efforts to accelerate the development of nuclear weapons and other types of mass destruction. As a result, the country suffers from energy shortages and other resources, limiting its capacity to maintain manufacturing facilities in remote regions for consumer goods production. Authorities face significant challenges in implementing Kim's program. Although local governments are responsible for providing the energy and resources needed to operate these industries, they may not have them, making them accountable for failing to meet the plan. Despite reports suggesting North Korea had a more successful harvest in 2023, a study published by Statistics Korea in December 2023 showed that North Korea's entire food production, including rice and barley, fell by 4% to 4.51 million tons in 2022. The volume of rice shipments from China decreased from 500,000 tons in 2021 to 130,383 tons in 2022. Paradoxically, although Kim's regime condemns North Korea's economic problems, it has not ensured access to food for its residents, as more than 80% of North Koreans consume insufficient protein. According to the United Nations 2023 assessment of global food security and nutrition, more than 12 million people in North Korea, or about 45.5% of the population, faced malnutrition between 2020 and 2022. Nevertheless, the Pyongyang government is working to create a different atmosphere in the country. Despite declining enthusiasm among young North Koreans, the North Korean leadership is intensifying efforts to indoctrinate and promote the importance of Kim Jong-un through brainwashing and propaganda. According to experts, North Korean authorities have increased their attempts to indoctrinate people in response to rising anti-socialist and non-socialist activities. This includes monitoring the consumption of South Korean TV programs and music by many primary, secondary, and high school teachers. The Korean dialects spoken in both North and South Korea share the same origin, but have diverged significantly since the end of the Korean War. North Korea has placed a strong emphasis on the concept of language purity and the preservation of ideological content to prohibit the use of foreign terminology or idioms. The country claims that language is a powerful tool to praise the Kim dynasty, deceive the public during ongoing campaigns, and promote a pseudo-ideology. In contrast, in the southern region, the Korean language has thrived along with the country's rapid economic growth and significant international ties. A large number of foreign terms and phrases have entered everyday language. With the introduction of South Korean operas and films in North Korea, authorities imposed strict measures on North Koreans who imitated South Korean clothing, terminology, emotions, and nonverbal communication. Consuming South Korean TV or movies and attempting to simulate a South Korean accent can result in arrest, imprisonment, expulsion to labor camps, and, in some cases, public executions. In December 2021, U.S. media reported that at least 7 people were executed for watching or sharing K-pop videos. This drastic measure was adopted in response to Kim Jong-un's view of South Korean culture as a brutal cancer. According to a Human Rights Watch report on North Korea's closure from 2018 to 2023, the North Korean government passed the Pyongyang Cultural Language Protection Law in January 2023 to completely eliminate the use of puppet language. This harsh dictatorship is gradually disconnecting North Korean citizens from their government. Despite the pervasive terror that permeates all levels of North Korean society, the army, secret police, and security agencies are unable to imprison, torture, or kill hundreds of thousands of North Korean citizens. The 2021 study by the Transitional Justice Working Group, Mapping Murders in the Kim Jong-un Era, revealed that convicts were subjected to severe treatment before their public executions, while students were routinely mobilized to participate in public trials. Undoubtedly, Kim will continue to use the army, secret police, and security agencies to obstruct, suppress, and eliminate any present or potential forms of protest. However, the most efficient way to improve the living conditions of North Koreans is to reallocate money from defense and internal security budgets to sectors of the economy that produce consumer goods and services. Even favored individuals in Pyongyang, who receive money from abroad, are not immune to security forces' surveillance and an increasingly intense crackdown on corruption.